This video will review the purpose of and how to complete the interim evaluation form. You may want to review the video on the performance rating standards to support your completion of this form. At least once during the placement, preceptors will evaluate the student's progress. You have two options to choose from in this case. You can either complete the final evaluation form or the interim placement form. The interim evaluation form broadly outlines the placement-specific competencies learning objectives. A similar version of this form is used for placements in nutrition care, population health, food service management, and for practice-based project. All interim evaluation forms contain learning objectives related to professionalism, feedback, documentation and written communication, as well as education and communication. The intent of this form is to provide feedback to the student on the level of their performance across the competency learning objectives at a specified point during the placement, to identify any gaps between the placement learning activities and the placement performance indicators, and finally, to offer an opportunity for the student to improve their performance and to ensure all placement performance indicators can be met with the learning activities in the placement. The preceptor will consider the level of the student's performance in relation to the competency learning objectives and the performance rating categories. To document your performance, preceptors can hover over the applicable response box and click E for exposure, S for supervision, M for minimal supervision, C for competent, and NA for not applicable. Preceptors can provide comments or identify a learning plan if needed. If a student is struggling, a performance action plan may be required. Comments are helpful, but not necessary. The preceptor and student will set aside some time in the placement to come together and discuss the completed interim evaluation. Students, before you meet with your preceptor, reflect on the level of your performance in the placement. Where have you demonstrated improvement? What are your learning priorities for the next portion of your placement so you can meet your learning objectives? Are there any gaps between the placement learning activities and the placement performance indicators? Preceptors, discuss the completed form with the student. This is an opportunity to highlight the student's strengths, as well as to identify specific steps for them to improve their performance. This is a chance to double check that the learning activities occurring in the placement will address the performance indicators. If you've identified gaps in the placement activities, brainstorm possibilities available through the placement that could be used to address these gaps. If you feel stuck, you can connect with a dietetic education coordinator for ideas. Additionally, the Ryerson website has resources that outline several examples of practice activities that could be used to address each performance indicator. Just search for the Ryerson ICDEP guide. Once the form and discussion are complete, the form should be signed by the student and preceptor. By checking the response box at the end of the form, you are verifying the information is true and correct. The checked response box is accepted as a replacement of a handwritten signature. The signed and completed form is emailed to the dietetic education coordinator. This can be done by either the student or preceptor. Please ensure to include everyone on the email, that is the student, the preceptor, and the dietetic education coordinator so that everyone has a copy. The student will upload the completed interim placement evaluation form to their OWL Dropbox. The dietetic education coordinator will review the submitted placement evaluation form. Any concerns will be directly addressed with the student and/or the preceptor. The dietetic education coordinator is looking for trends in your performance evaluations that indicate you are improving in your dietetic skills over time and meeting all the performance indicators through your placement activities. Preceptors and students are invited to contact the dietetic education coordinator to discuss the evaluation findings, or at any point during the placement to discuss the evaluation process or performance concerns.